Kayla abandoned the baby she had for a rich man, not knowing that one day she would regret it more than anything. Previously, on Seeds of Regret. Kayla was a maid in a wealthy home, living far below a world she never imagined touching. When her boss's son, Andrew, returned from abroad, the impossible happened. He fell in love with her. But his mother, Madame Benny, would never accept it. To her, Kayla was only a servant who did not belong. When Kayla became pregnant, everything fell apart. She was chased out of the mansion, and Andrew was sent out of the country. Alone and desperate, after giving birth, Kayla made a decision that would change her life forever. A year later, Andrew returned, still unable to forget her. A confrontation with his mother nearly cost her life, and changed her heart. Kayla and Andrew were reunited. But when he asked about their child, Kayla lied. They married. They left the country. 4 years later, they returned. Andrew took over his father's empire. But Kayla was haunted by the secret she carried. Believing the truth could still be fixed, she returned to the place where she had abandoned her child. But the orphanage was gone. And in that moment, the seeds of regret began to grow.
If you're just joining us, watch part 1 of Seeds of Regret here on Ivywood TV.
Seeing that the orphanage where she had abandoned her baby was gone, Kayla stood frozen, staring at the ruins. Panic surged through her as questions raced through her mind. What happened to the orphanage? The children? Where is my baby? She wondered. Desperate for answers, Kayla walked into a nearby shop to ask about the orphanage. The shop owner told her she had only rented the place a few weeks earlier and knew nothing about what had happened. However, she mentioned someone in the neighborhood who had been around for years and used to supply foodstuffs to the orphanage, and she directed Kayla to him. Kayla found the man and asked him about the orphanage. He explained that the government had demolished buildings too close to the road for dualization. The demolition had taken place months earlier, and from what he heard, the children were moved and scattered across different orphanages around the country. Hearing this, Kayla's heart sank. Back at home, Kayla paced around, her mind in chaos. Fear, regret, and confusion battled within her as the weight of her past choices pressed down on her. The thought that her child could be anywhere in the country left her shaken and helpless. But then, she thought of an idea. She patiently browsed about the orphanage, searching for any clue, any trace of her daughter, but no answers came. Every click and every page left her frustrated and empty-handed. Overwhelmed with pain and regret, Kayla broke down in tears. Even that night, Kayla wept bitterly about her ordeal, her mind plagued with guilt and sadness. But what she didn't know was that the night she had abandoned her child, a nun found the baby in the basket, safe and unharmed, and had taken her in. She tried to feed the baby, but the newborn cried and refused the milk, and no matter what Sister Irene did, the baby wouldn't budge. As Sister Irene gently rocked the baby, trying to soothe her without success, Felicia, the orphanage's cook, approached, curious and concerned. Felicia took the baby into her arms, and with a gentle touch and a bit of patience, the newborn finally calmed down, resting quietly against her. Felicia fed the baby with a bottle, and the newborn drank eagerly, surprising Sister Irene, who watched in quiet amazement. Feeling attached to the baby, Felicia approached the head nuns, kneeling before them and pleading to be allowed to take the child under her care. After careful deliberation, the nuns unanimously agreed to let Felicia take the baby. That very night, she carried the newborn home, beginning a new chapter in both their lives. Inside the house, Felicia's husband, Osas, confronted her sharply. "You can't just bring someone else's child into my house," he snapped, while Felicia clutched the baby tightly, determined to keep her. Felicia and her husband had their own past too. Felicia grew up in the village where she worked as a farmer, taking care of her late father's farmland and helping provide for her family, until she got married to Osas and moved with him to the city. Some years passed, but Felicia was unable to get pregnant, so Osas informed her that he would be taking a second wife. A few weeks later, the new wife was married and escorted to Osas's home. As time went on, Osas focused completely on his new wife, neglecting Felicia, who had worked alongside him to build a stable home. And not long after, his new wife, Agnes, became pregnant, cementing her place in the family and pushing Felicia further into the background. Agnes later gave birth to twins, filling Osas's home with joy. While Osas and Agnes spent their days caring for the children, Felicia watched from a distance, happy for them, even though it was hard for her. But Osas changed completely toward Felicia. He began to maltreat her, forcing her to handle all the household chores, insisting that Agnes already had her hands full with the children and should not do anything else. Feeling increasingly frustrated at home by Osas and Agnes, Felicia took up a job as a cook at a local orphanage. Being around children brought her comfort and gave her a sense of peace she no longer found at home. Working at the orphanage did Felicia a lot of good. The children brought her joy and a sense of fulfillment she had long been missing. But in all her time at the orphanage, Felicia had never felt more fulfilled than she did while holding the baby that night. Felicia faced Osas and spoke firmly. "I will keep this child," she said. "For the first time in years, I have found something that keeps my heart afloat." She reminded him that she had helped build the home they lived in long before he took a second wife. And when he married Agnes, she had not opposed him. "Just like I did not stand in the way of your happiness," Felicia added, "you will not stand in the way of mine either." "This child will stay," she emphasized, leaving Osas speechless and defeated. With no hesitation, Felicia settled in on her journey into motherhood, and though mainly unprepared, she embraced the responsibility with determination. The next morning, Felicia took out some of the maternity gifts she had received during her wedding. She cared for the baby and dressed her up carefully. Believing she had been given the grace to finally become a mother, Felicia named the baby girl Grace. Later that day, Felicia went out to shop for baby Grace, her heart set on giving the child all the care and love she could. As the days went by, Felicia continued caring for baby Grace, quietly and happily, while Osas and his family kept their distance, choosing to ignore her. Months passed, and Grace grew into a healthy, beautiful baby under Felicia's care. While Felicia focused fully on raising her, Osas's family continued to grow separately, with a clear divide between them. Jealous of the standard Felicia was raising Grace with, Osas began to harass her. He accused her of wasting money meant for the household on a child whose background they did not even know. But Felicia would not be dissuaded. To her, Grace was her own, and she would raise her to the best of her ability. Time moved on, and Grace continued to grow. Felicia guided her patiently, holding her upright as she learned to walk, raising her with love and devotion. And when Felicia went to work, she took Grace along with her, tied securely to her back as she worked, raising her side by side with her daily labor. When Grace reached school age, Felicia registered her in a private school. Every morning, she carried her there with joy, determined to give Grace a better life than she ever had. Each day when Grace returned from school, Felicia made sure the child was well fed and comfortable. This angered Osas, who became increasingly bitter, often confronting Felicia and accusing her of selfishness for refusing to share the income from her inherited farmland, choosing instead to spend her earnings and salary on raising Grace rather than contributing to the household. Realizing Osas would not stop harassing her, Felicia made a phone call to a friend who was leaving her job as a school chef to seek better opportunities abroad. The friend had earlier invited Felicia to replace her at the school, and that night, Felicia made her decision. She would take the job and relocate with her daughter. A few days later, Felicia set out for the capital with Grace, leaving Osas and his household behind. And as the bus made its way to Abuja, Felicia held her daughter close, hoping for better days ahead. Upon arriving in Abuja, Felicia's friend welcomed them and led them to the small apartment she had prepared, marking the beginning of Felicia's new life in the capital. The next day, Felicia reported at the school to resume work, and the school secretary took her around, familiarizing her with the environment. As Felicia worked in the school kitchen, she looked after her daughter, Grace, who attended the school on a staff scholarship, making things a lot easier for Felicia. When things became stable for Felicia in Abuja, she organized a modest birthday party to celebrate Grace's 5th birthday. As little Grace stood on a small podium beside her cake, smiling while she cut it, Felicia watched on, grateful for how far they had come together.
Before we continue, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Your support is highly appreciated.
Though still young, Grace was a happy and helpful child, always eager to assist her mother with chores and bringing Felicia joy in the little moments of their daily life. In school, Grace was brilliant and studious, a well-behaved child who listened to her mother and her teachers. And since Felicia never told her, she had no idea who she really was or where she had come from. On the other hand, Kayla could not stop regretting her past. She lay awake at night, crying and drowning in regret. She blamed herself for abandoning her baby and for not telling Andrew the truth when he came back for her. If she had spoken then, if she had been honest, her daughter would be with her now. The thought haunted her, and the pain continued to eat at her soul. One night, Andrew stirred and found Kayla crying quietly beside him. He turned to her and asked what was wrong. Knowing she could not tell the truth, because it was already too late, Kayla turned to something else. "It's been 5 years, Andrew," she cried. "And I haven't gotten pregnant even once. Your mother will start asking questions when she comes, and I won't have any answers." Andrew pulled her closer and comforted her. "It's my problem too, Kayla," he said gently. "And I am not pressuring you. You have been pregnant before, 6 years ago. You lost that pregnancy because I failed to fight for you. You are not to blame. I am." He held her affectionately and added, "I promise you, it will not happen again. I will stand by you. Always." Believing Kayla needed a break, Andrew took time off work. Gently holding her hands in the living room, he told her he had purchased a vacation home in Abuja and wanted them to spend a week there together, lighting up Kayla's face with excitement. Days later, they traveled to Abuja, arriving at the vacation home. As the maids carried in their luggage, the couple walked around the grounds, taking in the new surroundings and enjoying a rare moment of peace together. After settling in, Andrew and Kayla spent time by the pool, savoring the calm and each other's company. The days that followed, Andrew and Kayla continued to spend time together, talking, sharing their thoughts, and rekindling the closeness of their early days. The evenings were even more magical as Andrew always held his wife tenderly, sharing quiet intimacy that blossomed into nights of love and passion, bringing them pleasure beyond words. Towards the end of their vacation, Andrew and Kayla sat in the car, the driver navigating the streets of Abuja, as they headed to a party Andrew had been invited to. As they drove through the unfamiliar streets, their driver believed they might have taken a wrong turn, unsure if they were still heading toward the neighborhood where the club was. When a pedestrian was spotted, Andrew's driver parked and got down with his boss to ask directions from her. Andrew asked Felicia to point them towards the club, as Felicia held the hand of her daughter, Grace, tightly. Unknown to Andrew, that the little girl before him was his own daughter.
Watch Seeds of Regret Part 3 here on this channel at Ivywood TV. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching.